Hi, kids. Welcome to Miss Nancy's Bible College for Kids. I'm glad to have you. Today, its lesson is called It's a Dog's Life. Some things that God used dogs for in the Bible. Even some people that mention themselves as dogs. But let's go ahead and get started. And somebody be ready with the pen and paper. We're going to do the questions and answers. The first one is in Matthew chapter 15. Then Jesus went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she cried after us. They're saying, if you're not going to deal with her, we're going to have to. But Jesus answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to the dogs. And she said, this is an amazing response. Truth, Lord. She knew it was truth. I hate to tell you, children, but we as Gentiles were like dogs. If Israel and the Jews would have accepted Christ as their Messiah, we would have been outcasts. We would have been dogs. But anyway, and she said, Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered her. She got his attention and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. Man, I love that story. Now the second story is in the book of Luke. We know this one. You should know it almost by heart because Miss Nancy does. But it's another situation where dogs are involved. Luke 16. There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. This man had everything. The best servants, the best clothes, the best mansions. He had it all. And there was a certain beggar. I want to pause right there for a minute and say, we don't know this rich man's name. We may never know this rich man's name, especially till we get to heaven. But there's somebody else in this story. There was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate, at the rich man's gate, and he was full of sores. And desiring, here's his big desire, guys. This is how desperate people can get. To be fed with the crumbs that fell from the rich man's table. That's all he wanted. Moreover, the rich man never had any mercy on this beggar named Lazarus, but dogs did. Here's what they did. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. So they had more compassion on this beggar than the rich man himself. Now, that's a short story too, but a powerful one. You know the end of that story. Then we go to the Old Testament in the book of Judges, chapter 7. And it starts out like this. Then Jerubbaal, who is Gideon, and all the people that were with him rose up early and pitched beside the well of Herod, so that the host of the Midianites were on the north side of them by the hill of Moreh in the valley. And the Lord said to Gideon, The people that are with thee are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands. And here's why, kids. Lest Israel vaunt themselves, puffing up and thinking, oh, we are something. Unless they did that against me, saying, mine own hand has saved me. So he tells why he's not going to let that many go with Gideon. Now, therefore, go to, proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, Whosoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead. And there returned of the people 22,000. Now think about that, 22,000 people out in the wilderness. But there still remained 10,000 people. And the Lord said unto Gideon, now he's picking this army for Gideon, and he's telling him how he's going to. And it's a mighty victory after this, but we're not going to talk about that part of it. We're just going to go on with this. And the Lord said unto Gideon, the people are too many. They're still too many, or yet too many. Bring them down unto the water, and I will try them for thee there. And it shall be that of whom I say unto thee, this shall go with thee, the same shall go with thee. And of whomsoever I say unto thee, this shall not go with thee, the same shall not go. So he brought the people down unto the water, and the Lord said unto Gideon, every one that lappeth of the water with his tongue as a dog lap, if you've ever saw that, you know how that goes, him shall thou set by himself. Likewise, every one that boweth down upon his knees to drink. He said, separate them. And the number of them that lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, were 300 men. But all of the rest of the people bowed down upon their knees to drink water. Well, God tells him that, and then those 300 are left that lap like a dog. And he said, those are the men I want to go with you. And then there's this great battle. You wouldn't believe it. We've had it before, but we're going to go back to it someday, just not today. Now let's get ready for the questions and answers. In the first story, what was wrong with the woman's daughter in that story? She was vexed with a devil. And when she asked Jesus to help her with her daughter, what did he reply? He didn't say a word, did he? What did Jesus respond when his disciples wanted him to send her away because she was bothering them? He said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But when the woman came back and worshiped him, and she said, Lord, help me, what did he tell her then? He said, it is not meet to give the children's bread and to cast it to the dogs. Then what did she say? I love this. She said, truth, Lord, yet. She's got his attention now, I bet. Yet the dogs eat of the crumbs that fall from their master's table. Then what did Jesus respond to the woman? He said, oh, woman, great is thy faith, be it unto thee, even as thou wilt. So she got her wish, and what happened with her daughter? She got healed that same hour. So in Luke, the story was about two main characters. Who were they? A rich man, we don't even know his name, do we? And what was the other person? A beggar named Lazarus. What do you know? What can you tell me about the rich man? He was clothed in purple and fine linen. He fared sumptuously every day. What it doesn't say, he was not a compassionate man, was he? Now tell me what you know about Lazarus. Lazarus the beggar, he was a beggar, was laid at the gate of who? The rich man in this story. And what did he desire more than anything? This is his only desire, he said. He said, can I have the crumbs that fall from his table? Did he get them? No. Did the rich man ever have mercy on Lazarus the beggar? No. What was Lazarus full of? Sores from his head to his toes. Who or what had mercy on Lazarus the beggar? The dogs did. What did they do for him? They came and licked his wounds, didn't they? Dogs play a big part. Let's go on to the third story. Who's the captain of the army that God tells us about in this story? Gideon or Jerubbaal. And what was Gideon's problem at the start of this story? He had way too many people. Why didn't God want him to have that many people with him to fight a great battle? He said, lest they vaunt themselves and think that they're the ones that's doing it. You know, he thinks they're going to get credit. If they think they did it, they'll forget all about me. So, What did he tell Gideon, the first command to tell the people? He said, if you're afraid, boys, go home. How many went home? I'd probably been in this bunch if I was there. 22,000 people went home. How many was still left? 10,000 people. Now, stop and think about that for a minute. 10,000 people, and God says, Gideon, take them down to the water. 10,000 people goes marching down to the water. And then God tells Gideon what? He said, I'm going to tell you how we're going to choose your army. And so what did he tell him? What was his instructions? The ones that lap like a dog the water, set them aside. And the ones that bend down on their knee, put them on the other side. How many, after this trial, did Gideon have left to fight with him in this future battle? 300 men. And they took a big victory. But now, Miss Nancy just wants to go on to mention a few more things in the Bible about dogs. There was a man in 2 Kings named Hazael. And here's a question he asked about himself. He was going to do something big, all right, but it was something big and bad. And he said, what is thy servant, a dog, that I should do this great thing? The prophet told him, he said, I know you're going to. And he was crying, telling him. But anyway, then in 2 Samuel, there is another man named Mephibosheth. And he was David's friend Jonathan's son. And he was crippled. And he said, when David showed him favor and said, you're going to sit at the king's table and be with me all the days of your life, here's what Mephibosheth responded. What is thy servant that thou shouldest look on such a dead dog as I? He considered himself a dead dog. And then there's a man again in 2 Samuel named Abner. And he says, am I a dog's head? He didn't even consider himself a dog, but he was a dog's head. And then the last one I've got two more. One is a giant. When David came out to face Goliath with staves and a stone, he said he couldn't believe that this young man was coming to him like this. And he's a mighty warrior dressed to the hilt with somebody in front of him leading him, an armor bearer. But anyway, he said, what am I, a dog that you come to me like this? I guess that's what David thought. He was just a dog. It wasn't no big deal. But the last one is David himself. David says when Saul was seeking for him to take his life, and he was close to Saul at one point. He was his right-hand man. He came and played music for Saul when the evil spirit would come on him, and Saul would calm down. His spirit would straighten up. But David said this when Saul was chasing him to kill him. He says, why are you chasing such a dead dog as I? And then he goes on humbly and he says, a flea like me. A flea, babies. That's how David felt of himself. That's why David's a man after God's own heart. But what I want to ask you is, what kind of dog, if we're dogs, are we to our master? And who is your master? Is it Jesus? Is it the devil? Do you listen to every command that he gives you? Do you obey? You know, he can tell you a lot of stuff, but if you don't obey, anyway, you got to answer that question for yourself. And then I think a good dog will lay its head in the master's lap and say, I'm listening to everything you say. What do you want me to do? And I'll do it for you. Then when you hear his words, do you obey them? Whether it's the devil, whether it's Jesus. Guys, we are his servants. That's what we're made to do, to bring him joy. And you know the gospel. If you know you're a sinner, then if you believe that Jesus died on the cross according to the scripture, was buried and rose again the third day according to the scripture, you can ask him and he'll save you. And then you can say, Master, what do you want me to do? And live out your days for him. It's the least we can do. Bye. See you, kids.